What if I told you that the secret to launching a successful project or even leading a great team was actually hidden inside a teacher's handbook? Well, today we're diving into a really powerful framework for planning. And yeah, it was designed for the classroom, but trust me, its principles are totally universal. We're going to break down exactly how you can use them in your own work and, well, in your life.
We've all heard this one, right? It's simple, it's direct, and it is so true. Success, whether you're in a classroom or a boardroom, it almost never happens by accident. It's always the result of deliberate, thoughtful preparation.
And that's the real question, isn't it? It's one thing to know that you should plan, but it's a whole other thing to know how to do it well. What's the difference between just a basic checklist and a dynamic plan that really sets you up for success?
Well, the source material we're digging into today argues that every great plan doesn't start with a what or a how, but with a why. It's all about setting up a core philosophy for why preparation is so incredibly important in the first place.
So, the philosophy here is pretty unique. The source actually grounds its approach in principles from a belief in a planner God. Using big examples like the story of creation, it also points to historical leaders like Moses and Nehemiah as these amazing models of successful planning. And it brings in that ancient wisdom about counting the cost before you dive into a project. The whole point is to give the act of planning a much deeper sense of purpose.
And this isn't just some old idea. Modern experts are all over it. The source quotes these education researchers Wong and Wong who just nail it with absolute clarity. Preparation isn't just a part of the job, it is the job. It's the foundation you absolutely cannot skip if you want to succeed.
Okay, so with that philosophical why firmly in place, let's see how that actually translates into the practical how. Our source argues that there is no time more critical than the very beginning. Seriously, what you do on day one can literally determine your success for the entire journey. This is where the plan really comes to life.
The key is to not get overwhelmed by the idea of the first day. You just break it down into manageable parts. This little mind map from our source gives us a brilliant framework. It all comes down to 3 areas of readiness: preparing your environment, preparing your tools, and preparing yourself.
All right, now we get to the really actionable stuff. This isn't theory anymore. This is a practical checklist for setting the stage for success, and it covers each of those 3 key areas we just talked about.
First up, the physical space. Think about it. A cluttered, messy room just sends a bad vibe. But a clean, organized space, maybe with some thoughtful touches like seating set up for groups, a few plants, or even a nice scent, that creates a welcoming, calm atmosphere. It tells people you respect them and you're ready for them. And of course, a pre-flight check on all your tech is an absolute must. No surprises.
Next, let's talk about preparing your materials. And this is about so much more than just having handouts ready. It's about designing systems that build good habits right from the very beginning. Look at this example. It's a simple, visual way to take attendance. As people come in, they just move their card, it's super efficient, it doesn't interrupt anything, and it establishes a routine on day one.
And here's another fantastic example of how prepared materials can totally shape the group dynamic. By having table and group cards ready to go, you're sending a clear signal that collaboration is expected and it's structured. It gets people interacting immediately, and it reinforces that message that, hey, we're here to be productive from the second we walk in the door.
And finally, and honestly this might be the most critical piece, is getting yourself ready. Your personal readiness sets the ultimate tone. Dressing professionally models success. Showing up a little early shows you respect everyone's time. Greeting people at the door makes a personal connection. And doing one last mental run-through makes sure you are calm, confident, and in control.
Okay, so you absolutely nailed the first day. Awesome. But how do you keep that momentum going? Now we move to the what, the ongoing strategies and tools that make a plan work over the long haul.
The core concept here is something called classroom management. But wait, don't get stuck on the word classroom. Think of this as environment management. It's just the set of practices you use to make sure your space, whether that's an office, a workshop, or a classroom, stays organized, respectful, and productive long after day one is over.
A huge part of long-term planning is being crystal clear on your purpose. And this slide highlights a really subtle but super important distinction. An objective is about your intention as the leader, but an outcome is all about the result for the participant. A great plan always starts with the end in mind. What will people actually be able to do when this is all over?
You know, keeping people engaged and successful over time often comes down to collaboration. But just throwing people into groups and yelling collaborate, well, that's usually a recipe for chaos, right? Effective teamwork doesn't just happen. It has to be designed on purpose, with real structure and clear roles.
So, how do you actually build that structure? This rotating role chart is a fantastic tool. Each person in a group gets a specific job. You've got a reporter, a recorder, a social skills monitor, a discussion leader. By rotating these roles, you make sure everybody participates. No one person takes over, and everyone gets to develop a wider range of skills. It's brilliant.
And here you can see exactly how it works. The roles are hidden at the start, and then, boom, the column for that day is revealed. It's such a simple, elegant way to keep things fair, to keep it fresh, and to make assigning roles a really clear, transparent process. So we've covered the why, the how, and the what. But what's the ultimate payoff? Why does all of this meticulous, really detailed effort actually matter in the end? Let's do a quick recap of the most crucial points. Success starts with a strong why. It gets locked in by mastering that first impression. It's built on those 3 pillars: preparing your space, your tools, and yourself. And you keep it going with smart systems like routines and structured roles. Now, it's easy to look at all this and think it's about being a micromanager, or about creating some rigid, inflexible system. But that's a huge misconception.
Because the true purpose of all this planning isn't control. It's actually the opposite. It's liberation. It's about creating a predictable, respectful, and well-managed environment where all the little distractions are taken care of. This frees people up to focus, to create, to learn, and ultimately to thrive.
So we've walked through this plan that was designed for teachers. But these principles of purpose and preparation and structure, they're universal. So the final question I want to leave you with is this: where in your work, your projects, or even your personal life could applying this kind of thoughtful planning make the biggest impact for you?